A very good morning to everybody. Lovely to be here with you. We are missing one person from the studio, so they might just turn up a little bit late. So let's bring ourselves into a comfortable seat for ourselves. So whether you want to sit on something to support the hips, whether you want to maybe lean against something, maybe a wall, or if you're at home, a piece of furniture, maybe you'd prefer to sit on a chair rather than sitting on the floor. I'd invite you just to start to bring yourself into a place that you feel comfortable. You don't have to sit cross-legged if you'd prefer to sit some other way. And finding a place where your hands and arms can rest comfortably. Begin to turn your attention inwards, and you might do that by closing your eyes. You might do that by maybe focusing your gaze upon something ahead of you, so your eyes aren't moving around so much. And just giving ourselves just a couple of moments just to begin to connect with how we are at this moment. Just giving ourselves a bit of time and space at the start of this practice. Just to acknowledge anything that we may need to know about ourselves today. That may be things relating to our physical self, so to the body or the systems or the organs of the body. Maybe noting how we're feeling energetically this morning. Noting how we are in our mind. In the studio today, there's a little bit of distraction going on outside, where someone's doing some maintenance of the gardens. But there might be other things going on within or outside of the property that you're in today as well. Sometimes just reminding ourselves that in these moments we can't change what anyone else is doing, but we can change our attitude towards what we're experiencing. Knowing that things will always continue to change, and this is part of our existence as human beings, is how we respond to change. Now, despite how much we try, we can't really control anything within us or around us. It's about just giving ourselves the acceptance that it's okay to feel what we need to feel, to respond how we need to respond. So when you feel ready, what I'd like you to do is just gently begin to allow your breath to just start to deepen a little. And then as your breath begins to deepen, just slowly let your eyes open. And as your eyes open, just begin to bring a little bit of movement back into the body. So maybe some wiggling of fingers or toes, maybe moving through the shoulders, maybe having a little stretch or a yawn or a sigh. And then what I'd like you to do is just come up to a standing position when you feel ready. So maybe clearing your mat of anything that you might be able to fall over or anything that might get in your way. And let's just come and stand with our feet so they're roughly hip distance apart. And then all I'd like you to do is just shift your weight into your left leg and just begin to come onto the ball of your right foot and begin to just circle the ball of your right foot around. So we're just sort of circling around, working into those toes, working into the pad of that right foot, working into the ankle. And obviously just a little bit of work into that right leg. And then we're going to circle the ball of the foot in the opposite way. And then what I'd like you to do is pick up the right foot and just tuck your toes under and just very, very lightly, just pushing a little bit of pressure into those right toes. You might even just want to move very, very gently across those right toes. And then we're going to pick up the right foot, hands on the hips, and just do some circles with the ankle. So we're going to circle that foot around. Again, circling it in the other way. And let the right foot go really sort of limp and floppy, and then give it a little shake. So just shaking that foot off. Then we're going to do exactly the same thing on the left side. So we're going to start off shifting the weight firstly into the right foot, lift up the heel, and we're just going to begin to just circle around on the ball of that foot. So we're just moving through that ankle, moving gently through that hip joint. If you find this quite challenging, you can always sort of go to a wall and touch a wall or be near something that you could, maybe a chair or something that you can put in front of you, and then circling in the opposite way. And then we're going to flip those toes over so the toes are tucked under and just gently rolling across the front of those toes. So we're just working into some of those joints and connective tissue areas of those toes, which again don't tend to get moved in this way very much. And then you might find it useful, hands on the hips, just to help to balance a little bit more. And then do some circles with the ankle. And then circling in the other way. And then just a couple of those flicks. So letting that left foot and ankle get really sort of floppy and just giving that foot a little bit of a shake. Brilliant. And then come and stand with your feet. So they're going to be together now. So your big toes are going to be together. Heels are going to be together. Hands are going to stay on our hips. We're going to step our right leg up. And then we're going to step it all the way out. Touch the toes to the floor. And then come all the way back and back into the center. Then we're going to swap to the other side. So we're going to inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. So swap back to the right side again. Doesn't matter what way you're doing particularly, but we're just swapping from side to side and seeing if we can coordinate our breath as we lift and lower. So this movement is really useful to help with the mobility through our hip joints, through our hip flexors, useful to help move through the glute in this way as well. And just a couple more times. You might even find looking ahead, once you've kind of got used to the pattern a little bit, looking ahead rather than looking down, so your body's in a more sort of upright position. So one more time on each side. Fantastic. And then what I'd like you to do is turn the same way as me, so you're facing along the long edge of your mat. And then you're going to step your feet wide. And then turn one of your feet out. Doesn't really matter what one you do. So you're just turning it towards the thin edge of your mat. Hands are going to come back on your hips again. But I want you to make a conscious effort to just slightly twist your hips so they're facing more along the long edge than towards that front foot. And then we're going to bend that front knee. So we're going to sink into that front knee and then push away with that foot, straightening the leg. So we're going to inhale as we bend the knee and sink down. Exhale as we push ourselves back up. So just a couple more times. Moving in and out of this movement that is just starting to work a little bit more on the quads, on the knee joints. Also, what's happening is as we start to lean in that right direction, the left side of our hip joint is getting a little bit of stretch and across the left side of the pelvic region. So just one more of those. And then we're going to come straight to the opposite side. So turning the foot of the leg that we've just been working with, and then begin to just sink down and push back up, and really push with that foot and leg as you bring yourself back up. So we're really kind of activating that quad. A couple more times. Trying to keep those hips facing towards the long edge of the mat. And just one more of those. Fantastic. And then turn your feet so all of your toes are facing towards the long edge of your mat. And then we're going to turn our heels inwards. And then what we're going to do here is hands are going to start on our hips. We're going to inhale. As we exhale, we're going to bend our knees and send our knees in the direction of our big toes. Inhale, we're going to come up to stand. So exhale, we're going to sink back down again. Send those knees in the direction of the toes. Inhale to come back up. So if you want to, you can inhale and take the arms overhead. Exhale to float back up. So we inhale to sink. Exhale to lift. So just a couple more times. So again, this is working into a squat position. It's doing an outward rotation of both of our hip joints, but also beginning to take the arms overhead. We're just stretching through the side body, obviously working through those shoulder joints as well. Do that one more time. Fantastic. Come all the way back up. Walk the feet in, so heel and toe in the feet all the way in. I'm going to suggest now let's turn to face the front edge of our mat. So feet are going to be roughly hip distance apart. Going to bring the hands onto the backs of our thighs, so just above our just below our glutes, just at the top of our hamstrings. We're going to take a big breath in here. As we exhale, we're going to fold forward, slightly bending our knees and slide all the way down the backs of our legs. Bring your hands onto your shins. Inhale to look up. Exhale, fold back over those legs. Inhale, come all the way back up to stand. Exhale at the top. So this time we're going to inhale, draw the arms wide and reach up to the sky. Exhale, float the arms wide and come forwards. Hand come onto the lower part of your legs or shins. Inhale to look up again. Exhale, fold back over those legs. Let the head get really heavy here. Inhale, come up to stand. Draw the arms wide. Bring them together above the crown. And exhale to release. Arms back by your sides. Let's do that again. So inhale. And exhale. Inhale to look up. Exhale to fold back over those legs. Inhale to come up to stand, reaching up to the sky. Exhale to release. So if you're towards the middle of your mat, just come forward so you're standing towards the top edge of your mat now. We're going to inhale again, float the arms up. Exhale as we float ourselves forwards. Inhale to look up, lift the chest, lift the gaze. Exhale, bend your knees and bring your hands onto the floor. Step your right leg back behind you. Gently bring your right knee down onto the mat. If it feels okay, as you inhale, draw the arms up. So you're going to reach up to the sky. Exhale as we fold ourselves forward. Tuck those right toes under, lift the right knee up, step the right foot forwards. Hands on your shins as you inhale to look up. Exhale to fold back over those legs. Inhale, draw the arms wide, come all the way back up to stand. And exhale at the top. Inhale again, draw the arms up, look up to the sky. Exhale as we gently fold ourselves forwards. Inhale as we look up, lift the chest, lift the gaze. Exhale, hands either side of your feet. Step your left leg back. Bring your left knee down. If it feels okay, inhale, draw the arms up to the ceiling. Exhale, fold yourself forwards again. Tuck those left toes under. Step that left foot forward. Inhale as we look up. Exhale as we fold over those legs. Head gets heavy. Inhale, come all the way back up to stand, reaching the arms up to the sky. And exhale to release. Just a couple of breaths here, just slowing the breath rate down if you feel like your breath rate has got a bit fast, or just taking a moment just to connect with how that movement has felt through the body so far. So we're going to add an extra little stage into stepping into that lunge position. So as we inhale, we're going to draw the arms wide again. Exhale as we float ourselves forwards. Inhale as we look up. Exhale, fold over the legs and step that right leg back. Bring that right knee down onto the earth. Inhale, draw the arms up and overhead again. Exhale, fold ourselves forwards. Tuck the right toes under. Lift your right knee up. But then what you're going to do is bring your right heel down, push into the outside edge of your right foot, and transfer yourself to warrior two position. So left foot should be forward, left hand is forwards. Sink into that front knee a little bit more, but think about drawing the shoulders away from the ears. Softness through your gaze, softness through your breath. You're using this right foot to really kind of anchor that right leg down. Taking one more breath in. As we exhale, we're going to float forwards. We're going to swivel on those right toes. And then we're going to step that right foot forward to join our left. We're going to inhale as we look up. Exhale as we fold back over those legs. Inhale as we come up to stand, reaching up to the sky. Exhale as we float those arms back down. Inhale again as we float those arms up. Exhale as we float ourselves forwards. Inhale as we look up. Exhale, hands either sides of the feet. Step that left leg back. Bring your left knee down. As you inhale, draw those arms up, reach up to the sky. Exhale, float the hands down. Going to tuck those left toes under, lift that left knee up, turn the left foot so we can push it into the back end of the mat and transfer ourselves to warrior two. Turn your gaze, look towards your right hand, so your front hand, right knee is going in the right direction of your toes. You're using this left leg to really kind of stabilize yourself in this position, softness through your shoulders. So just a couple of breaths here. With your next exhalation, bring the hands either side of your right foot. Swivel on your left toes. Step your left foot forward. Hands on your shins or on the floor as you inhale to look up. Exhale, folding back over those legs. Inhale as we come all the way back up to stand, reaching up to the sky. And exhale as you float the arms back down. by your sides. Yeah, just taking a moment here, maybe letting the eyes just focus ahead of something, or if you want to close your eyes, you can do. Again, just connecting with your breath. So I want you to take an interlace of your hands. As you inhale, you're going to draw your hands up and overhead. As you exhale, you're just going to lean to one side. It really doesn't matter what side you lean to. Inhale as you come back up to the center, reach up to the ceiling. Exhale, lean to the other side. Inhale, come up to the center again. Get tall and as long as you can. Exhale, lean over to that first side again. Inhale as you come up to the center. Get as tall as you can. Lean over to the second side. Inhale, come up to the center. This time, separate the hands. Turn the palms so they're facing each other. Spread the fingers as wide as you can possibly spread them. And then bend your knees and drop your bottom behind the back of your knees. So option here could be to bring the arms down if that feels a little bit tiring, to bring them in front of the chest. If you feel okay to keep them above you, then do, but squeeze the shoulder blades together. So you're drawing the shoulders away from the ears, and then sink a little bit lower if you can do. Keep your gaze focused and soft. Taking one more breath in. Let's sink a little bit lower if we can do. Take another inhale here. And as we exhale, we're going to fold over those legs. Touch your shins or touch the floor. Inhale to look up. We're going to exhale, step our right leg back again. This time, we're not going to bring our right knee down onto the earth. What we're going to do is bend our left leg, and then we're going to bring ourselves up. So you might want to use your left thigh into a high lunge position. Now, from here, put a little bit of weight into that front foot. Keep that back foot really strong, leg engaged. We're going to draw the arms back behind ourselves. So see if we can interlace our hands together. So I find, little tip, go a bit wider with the feet. I find that easier. Draw the shoulders down. Keep looking directly ahead. See if you can sink a little bit lower into this lunge position. While this is really challenging our body to stay balanced, eyes being open, looking ahead is a really useful thing to do here. Sink a little bit lower if you can do. Big breath in. As we exhale, release the hands, bring them either side of that front foot. We're actually going to step back into downward dog here. So from downward dog, feet want to be roughly hip distance apart. Maybe hands as wide as your shoulders. Let's take a little lift and lower through each of the heels. So we're just kind of working through the backs of the legs, exploring how that feels. Fantastic. From here, I just want you to walk your hands towards your feet. Bring the heels onto the floor and just let yourself just take a kind of loose, floppy swing over those legs. You might want to sort of sway through the arms. You might want to sway more through the hips. You might want to move the head a little bit. Fantastic. And then from here, we're going to walk our hands all the way back to downward dog again. So from our downward dog position, you've got two options here. You could just step your left foot forwards towards your hands, or you might want to bring your knees down and help your left foot forwards, and then come back into our lunge position. So you're going to lift that right knee this time off the floor. So we're going to lift ourselves up. So we're coming into that low lunge. So again, you might find you need to step that foot in or out, wider or narrower. Sink into that left knee a little bit more. Draw the arms behind your back again. So we're going back into this low lunge balance. The lower you get to the floor, the easier this is. The more you look ahead, the easier it is because it doesn't throw you off balance. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Draw the shoulders down away from those ears. See if you can sink a little bit lower if you can do. take one more breath in. As we exhale, release the hands, bring them either side of that right foot, and we're going to step ourselves back to our downward dog. This time in downward dog, take your feet as wide as your mat and turn your toes slightly outwards. So your heels are going to be slightly in, toes are going to be slightly outwards. We're going to start to walk towards our feet, but you're going to start to bend your knees. And as you do that, you may end up in a squatting type position towards the end of your mat. So if possible, lift up onto your toes. Take your knees as wide as possible. See if you can lift your hands off of the floor, and you can either interlace them or you could bring them into a prayer position and push into the inseam of the thighs as you're squeezing the thighs in towards the elbows. So we're working into those hip joints, working into this kind of outward rotation of those, of the pelvis. Fantastic. So you're going to bring the hands gently down onto the floor. From here, sink your bottom back and stretch your legs ahead of you. You might want to grab your block or something to sit upon just to give you a little bit more height and support. Let's head to the front, a bit easier. So we're going to come into a forward fold. So we're going to bring the legs together. So thighs are going to be together, feet are going to be together. Push your heels away from you, draw your toes towards you, and we're going to reach up to the ceiling again. So spread those fingers as wide as you can possibly spread them. Take a big breath in here. And as you exhale, just begin to let yourself lean forwards. Now, as you lean forwards, you might naturally round through your back more. Some of you might hinge from your lower back a little bit more, but you're all going to end up with your hands either on the floor or on your legs, whatever feels most comfortable for you. I want you to continue to push your heels away and draw your toes towards you. Some of you might find you can walk your fingertips towards your toe tips, towards the balls of your feet. For others of you, you might need to actually bend your knees a little bit to take some of that pressure off of the lower back or off of the back of the hamstrings. If you don't want to compress through the abdominal area, you stay in a more upright position and you kind of think about getting a little bit longer through the body. So that just stops that compression in that lower abdominal area. So for some of you, you might even find, rather than being very switched on with the legs, you might just want to kind of let the legs just flop a little bit. And actually that might feel better for your body. So we haven't got to be in a sort of formulaic way. It's just what feels good for our bodies. Fantastic. So when you feel ready, we're gently going to push ourselves all the way back up. We're going to do a slight variation of this forward fold. So you're going to bend your right knee, bring your right leg towards you, and then you're going to bring your right foot back behind you. So what will start to happen is your right knee and your left knee will separate away from each other. Try and make sure you're sitting on both of your seated bones as much as possible. So if that means taking that right knee really wide out to the side, that works better for some people's bodies. For some people's bodies, they're a bit better being closer. Then we're going to turn ourselves back towards our outstretched left leg again. We're going to reach up to the ceiling, spread those fingers as wide as we can, and then we're going to fold forwards again in exactly the same way, but just towards that left leg. So we've moved this hip in a slightly different way. So we're going to start to work into that right side of the lower back a little bit more, into that right side of the sacrum. Again, you can hold the leg, you can hold the toes, you can be very kind of engaged through that left leg. You might want to be quite soft and gentle through that left leg. You choose what feels good for you. Maybe this left knee needs to be really quite bent for you today. Just a couple of breaths here. So we're actually really kind of working through that left hamstring, but also subsequently we're working into that right lower back and hip joint as well. So from here, we're going to push ourselves gently back up. Right leg, bring it out. Let's do exactly the same on the left side now. So bringing your left leg in, and then you're going to bring that left foot back behind you. So your knees will separate away from each other. Again, you might find when you first come into it, you might need to sort of readjust your seat a little bit. For some people's hips, they might be more tighter through one side than they are through the other side. It's not happening. Yeah, if you get a bit of cramp, Matt, what you can do instead, even just bringing that foot to here, maybe it's just going to be enough today. Yeah. So you're looking along that right leg, reach up to the sky again, really flex through those fingers, and then let's fold ourselves forwards. Again, just gently allowing yourself to lean towards that right leg. Again, that right knee can be quite bent, it can be quite straight. Quite often we will get cramp when we haven't sort of moved our bodies in those specific ways for a while. And, you know, the body sort of saying, oh, which maybe feels a little bit too much. So it's really important when we feel those cramping sensations, kind of not to force our bodies to go further in, to actually let them come out, have a breather, let the blood circulate around that joint again, and kind of feel back into what feels right to you. So when you feel ready, we're gently going to push ourselves away from that right leg. We're going to stretch both of our legs ahead of ourselves. We're going to bring the soles of our feet together and then taking your knees wide out to the sides. So if you need to put something underneath your knees, you could put a bolster, you could put some blocks or some supports. And then we're going to start to just lean slightly inwards. So you might bring your weight into your feet. You might bring your weight more into your shins or onto your ankles. You might want to bring your hands forwards and actually bring them on the floor, maybe in front of your feet. But again, we're just letting ourselves just kind of feel gently into particularly that inner groin area, into that hip area. Just exploring how that feels. So this is a really useful position which helps to just gently open through the lower back area, but also tends to identify for quite a few of us where we might have very tight sort of abductor or inner thigh muscles, which again is quite a common thing for us to experience. So in youth already, we're gently going to push ourselves all the way back up. We're going to bring our hands around the outside edges of our knees and we're going to bring our legs together. I'm just going to turn to the side. It'll be a little bit easier for people to see. We're going to bring our hands back on the floor behind ourselves. If possible, turn your fingertips so they're pointing towards your glutes. And then you're going to lean back into your hands. You're going to squeeze your shoulder blades and elbows together and see if you can look up towards the ceiling. So you've got this kind of sense of opening through the upper part of your back, across the front of your chest area, bringing ourselves into a very mild back bend here. So some of you might even find, as you start to get a bit more comfortable with that, you might want to come onto your elbows and keep squeezing those shoulder blades, keep squeezing the elbows together. Try not to let the head drop all the way back so you're looking up towards the ceiling, but just gently projecting that chest forwards, if that feels okay. Brilliant. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to bring ourselves onto our left-hand side. So I want you to utilize your left elbow and your left forearm. You're going to bring your knees together in a sort of fetal type position. Right hand is just going to be in front of you as a little bit of support. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to stretch our right leg away from ourselves. We're going to purposely, rather than point the toe towards the end of the mat, we're going to turn the foot. So as though we're sort of drawing the toes up towards ourselves, pushing our heel away. As we inhale, we're going to lift that right leg as high as we can. Slight inward rotation of our toes, and then lower back down. So we're going to inhale as we lift up. Exhale as we lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. This is really useful to help strengthen through the glute area and the front of the hip flexor. So just a couple more times doing this lifting and lowering. While we're doing this, we're also getting a gentle stretch through this left side of the body. Brilliant. So we're going to bend that right knee, bring it back on top of the left, give that right glute a little bit of a rub. We're going to do one more thing here. Okay, so we're going to lift, big toes are going to stay together. We're going to lift our feet off of the floor, and then we're going to bring our knees together and then open our right knee away from our left. So it's a bit like a sort of clam type position. So we're opening and closing. So you'll probably find as you're doing this, you're stabilizing muscles. So you'll feel your abdominal muscles switching on. This movement, again, is really useful to help strengthen through that right glute area. Just once or twice more. Fantastic. So from here, bring your feet down. We're going to push ourselves up. We're going to turn ourselves around so we're facing the back of our mat. Big toes are going to come together. Knees are going to go wide. And you're going to reverse your way back down into child's pose. So again, you might want to bring forehead to the floor like we would normally do. You might prefer to cross your forearms. You might want to put a block or something underneath your forehead. So we're just gently stretching into that lower back area. Depending on how your arms are as well, we'll also be stretching through that upper back area as well. So when you feel ready, what we're going to do is lift ourselves back up to 4-point kneeling. Bring the knees slightly back inwards. Let's just do a little bit of cat and cow movement. So just kind of moving through the spine, just releasing any held tension. Brilliant. And then come back to a neutral position. And then we're going to turn ourselves around. So we're lying on our side, but on the right-hand side this time. So again, we're going to utilize that right forearm, that right elbow, bringing the knees up towards into a fetal type position. And then we're going to extend our left leg away from ourselves. Do that slight flexing of that left foot and slight inward turn of those left toes. And then as we inhale, we're going to lift that left leg up. Exhale to lower down. So inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. So repeating this a few more times. So we start to almost fatigue that left glute. Also, they're stabilizing muscles that are holding ourselves up here. Do one more of those, just moving in and out. Okay, and then we're going to bend our knees again. So bringing the knees on top of each other. You're going to bring your big toes together. You're going to lift your feet away from the floor and then open the knees wide. So you're in this clam position, but the feet are floating. And then you're going to close that clam position. So you could inhale to open, exhale to close. Inhale to open, exhale to close. So just repeating that a few more times. Brilliant. Okay. So closing those knees, just give that left glute a little bit of a rub. And then we're going to push ourselves up and turn ourselves around again. So we're going to be facing maybe the back end of our mats. We're going to walk our hands forwards this time. So you're stretching them as far as you can towards the back end of your mats. Keep the hips lifted, but lower the forehead and the chest towards the floor. So we're stretching into that upper part of the back region. Again, you can put something underneath the forehead or to catch the chest if you find that useful. You might even like, rather than having the palms flat on the floor, to lift the palms off of the floor, but keep the fingertips on the floor. So you've just got a little bit more of a sense of activation through that shoulder blade area, armpit, upper part of back. Again, if that feels too intense, feels too much, you can always bring those palms back down. So I'm going to offer two options today. I just want you to come and have a look and see what those two options are going to be. We're going to bring ourselves up into a kneeling position. You might just want to spin yourselves around now. So we've got two options to do a back bend here. We could do our camel pose. So remember how we did last week, where you're bringing one heel and the opposite arm is reaching up to the sky. So you could repeat that on both sides. And you might want to see how it feels to take both the hands to the heels. Option number two could be to lie it on your front. Hands are going to come quite wide, and we're going to push ourselves up into this position called the seal. So if you don't want to put too much pressure through the abdominal area, go for the camel version. If you're okay putting some pressure through the abdominal area today, you might want to come into this seal position instead. You might want to try all of them. So I'll give you the option to choose what feels best for you today, what feels right. So if you are doing that seal version, remember as well, if coming up, forearms being straight feels a little bit too intense, elbows can be bent, or you can take it down to more like a sort of sphinx type position. Again, really important thing to do here is when you're holding that back bend, is just soften the gaze. Really notice what you're doing to that neck and throat area. So we're not sort of forcing that neck or throat area. Fantastic. So whenever you've had enough, we're going to push ourselves or bring ourselves back, and we're going to come into a kneeling position. So you're going to sit back on your heels. So as we come into this kneeling position, we're going to bring our right hand onto the floor. We're going to slide that right hand along the floor. If you want to put like a block or something, maybe underneath your hand, if you prefer to. And then we're going to take that left arm up and reach it over. And then just turn our gaze. So we're just looking down in that right direction. We haven't got to look right at that right hand. We're just not sort of forcing that neck to go in any position that feels too much. If you start to feel this left glute lifting a little bit, just gently ease it back down. So we're really working into that left side of the body. If it feels too much with the shoulder, you can always bring the hand behind the head, or you can even just cross the hand over and still lean into that right side, but just stretching through that left side of the body without so much of the arm doing the work for you. So when you feel ready, we're going to push ourselves up. We're going to come straight onto the opposite side. So we're going to lean into our left side. So bringing your left hand onto a block or onto the floor, and then drawing your right arm maybe up and overhead. Again, remembering those options you can do. If you want to take that pressure off the shoulder, try and keep this hip down as much as possible. You'll want to start to lift and sort of go where the rest of the body's going. But we're working through this side body. Also, by being in this position with our legs, we're just having a very, very gentle stretch across the front of the thighs as well. Fantastic. Brilliant. So we're going to push ourselves gently back up. I'm going to suggest if this isn't comfortable for you to sit in, we're going to change the seated position now. So maybe come into a cross-legged position. Also, maybe start to just think about putting on some layers. We're going to do a breathing practice before we go into relaxation and meditation. So if you need to put any extra layers on, have a glass of water or anything you might need to do to make you feel a bit more comfortable, then do. We're going to do a breathing practice. We're going to do one twist just before we come into our reclining position for relaxation. But maybe get all your stuff sort of ready nearby so you haven't got to reach very far away from it. So just coming back into a seat that feels comfortable for you. Again, if you want to lean on anything, sit on anything, you can do. Giving yourself just a little bit of time to start to settle. Observing how, excuse me, we've gone from some movement to coordinating our breath. Now we're starting to slow down that activity part. We're moving into some more kind of practice that's a little bit more focused on activity of the mind rather than of the body. You're just giving yourself just a couple of moments here just to allow that transition to begin to shift. Maybe noticing how the body is feeling after we've moved it in all those different ways. And beginning to draw your awareness to your breath. And observing how the breath feels in this moment. So we're going to begin to just start to allow the breath to start and end at certain points of ourselves. So I want you to be aware of the very base of your body, but also be aware of the very top of your head. And all I'd like you to do is, as you inhale, is breathe from the base up to the crown. And as you exhale, exhale from the crown back to the base of your body. So as you inhale, it's as though you're sort of drawing your breath up through the torso. And as you exhale, you're breathing back down through the torso. So some people find it useful to maybe visualize that happening. You might just sense the energy moving. There's just a natural uplift with the in-breath and a natural down flow with the out-breath. So you might connect with that. Some of you might be far more visual and almost kind of visualize yourself with some form of wave or pattern or shape. That's a complete open interpretation of how you would like to imagine this breath happening today. Whatever feels right for you. As we're breathing up from the base to the crown, it's as though the energy is lifting. So we're bringing in new energy into the body. And as we're breathing out old energy. This continuous cycle, this continuous change. Welcoming in the new, letting go of the old. So just a couple more moments of this breathing practice. This is sometimes known as Sushumna breathing. So Sushumna is the central energy channel that runs up and down, kind of where the main sort of spinal column runs. But we've got lots and lots of different other energy channels, which are called nadis around our body. But this is the main one. If you think about it, it's where the sort of the main information passes along the spinal column. It's the main sort of trunk of the nervous system as well. And the connection between our body and our brain. So when you feel ready, just let your breath now just find its own natural pattern. And just let yourself just sit for just a moment or two, just being aware of how it feels to have gone from that transition of breathing in a certain way to now just breathing in a natural way. Maybe how we respond to that change. Maybe noting, as we did at the start of the practice, what those external distractions were. For us that were in the studio, we had quite a loud sound that we were dealing with, and fortunately that's gone a little bit further away now. It was a little bit easier to be in the moment, maybe, for some of you. But again, that change, how we respond, how we react. And then when you feel ready, I'd like you to just begin to bring yourself down onto your mat. Let's say we're going to do a very, very simple twist before coming into relaxation. So if you do want to put some extra layers on, you didn't before, now would be a really good time. Also have all your stuff nearby that you're going to need for your relaxation. We're going to lie on our backs if that feels comfortable for us to be able to do that today. And then what I'd like you to do is slide your left leg along the floor. And then you're going to cross your right foot over your left leg. So it doesn't matter if it meets the floor, if it just sort of hangs off of that left thigh slightly. So you've got that right knee bent. And then you're going to use your left hand and gently roll onto that left hip as you start to bring that right leg over towards that left hand side. So you're going to have a spare hand, which is going to be your right hand and right arm. So just let it gently drape out towards that right side. You might even choose to let your head turn in the opposite way, so towards the right side. Or you might choose to let your head roll in the same direction as your leg. If you want to give yourself some support, you might want to put something underneath that right knee, like a bolster or a cushion, so the floor comes up to meet it. Some of you might be okay just sort of letting that right leg float above the floor. And just gently letting that twisting action just slowly work into any held areas of tension or tightness. We've done quite a bit of work today around that hip joint area and done those squatting positions and moved the leg inwards and outwards of that inward and outward rotation of the hips. That's going to be just a nice way to just gently stretch into that right hip, glute, lower back area. Then when you've had enough of this twist, firstly bring your head back to the center and then just gently roll back onto both of your buttocks again. And then stretch your right leg away to join your left, so you're lying on your back. And then let's do exactly the same thing on the opposite side. So you're going to bend your left leg, bringing your left foot over your right thigh, and then reaching over with your right hand and gently bringing that left leg over towards the right side. And you might end up rolling onto that right side of the body or putting more pressure through that right hip area. The option here is to turn the head left, right, or keep it in the center. Your left arm, which is going to be your spare arm, just let it just gently sort of drape out to that left side. So just a couple more breaths here. And then very slowly, just begin to let yourself roll it out, taking your time. You might just find you want to lie on your back with your arms and your legs away from each other. Maybe putting a blanket or something over you just to give a little bit more comfort or support. You might find you want to put something underneath your legs. Some of you might prefer to lie on your side rather than lying on your front. Some of you might prefer to sit rather than lie. So just giving yourself this time to find a place where you feel comfortable to be. We need to be able to be still for about 10 minutes or so. So again, if there's any extra supports that you need, any extra layers, if you find you're doing this during the day and you want to block out the light, you could put something over the eyes or use a hood, put that over. just to block out a little bit of light. And then as soon as you start to let yourself just find a bit of stillness, allow yourself to feel into that connection between the surfaces that are holding you and your body. Notice how it feels to be able to let the body be held rather than us having to kind of hold on. Softening the muscles, the joint, and the connective tissue of the body. Noticing if you're holding any tension around your head, your neck, your face, your jaw, your throat. If you're holding any tension around your upper body, so the shoulders, the upper arms, the chest, the upper back. If you're holding tension around your mid-torso, so around the rib cage, the elbows, maybe you're holding tension around the lower part of the body, around your lower back, the abdominal area, the side body. Maybe you're holding tension in the base of your torso, around the pelvic bowl, the hips, the glutes, the eliminatory organ. Noting how you're feeling through both of the legs. And letting go of any tension held in the thighs, and the calves, through the ankles, the feet or the toes. Allowing the whole of your body to be free from tension in this moment. We're going to go back to our breathing practice. So we're going to start off our attention at the base of the body. So whether you're lying or sitting, we'll be starting at that area, the very base of the torso. So around the lower pelvis area. And we're going to inhale up to the crown. Exhale from the crown back to the lower part of the pelvis, the base of the body. So we're just tracing that journey up and down the full length of that spinal column. Again, remembering as we breathe in, there's a sort of upward lifting action. And as we breathe out, there's a releasing, softening action. And we're going to turn our attention now to the breath starting at the very center of the chest or breast area. As you inhale, you breathe up to the crown. And as you exhale, you're breathing from the crown back to the center of the chest or breast area. So just stay changing where the breath starts. We're always breathing up to the crown. We're going to change the point of where we're breathing from to the center of the throat. And as you inhale, breathe from the center of the throat up to the crown. And as you exhale, exhale from the crown back to the center of the throat. And we're going to move our attention again to the eyebrow center. And breathing from the eyebrow center to the crown of the head. From the crown of the head down to the eyebrows. then once more, allow the breath to fall away from that pattern and just allow it to be completely natural in this moment. So I'd like you to begin wherever you are to start to just allow yourself to become just a little bit more aware of the surroundings, allowing your breath to deepen. If you've been lying, then roll onto one side. And when you feel ready, just gently beginning to bring yourself up into a seat that feels comfortable for you. From your upright position, just gently place one hand against the center of that chest or breast area. Take a big breath in and a long breath out. Again, just let your breath return to a natural rhythm. And allow yourself this time to maybe recognize what it is that you may have learned or heard or been reminded of today. Maybe that information that feels quite useful to be able to navigate through the next couple of weeks. For some people, this time over the holidays can give them lots of space. For others, it can be really busy. But just reminding ourselves of what we can take away from today or what you might have learned over this year. And how we always have choice. And bring our hands together into Amanjali Mudra. Bowing our head just gently towards our hands. And to close our practice, I'd invite you to join me in a repetition of the mantra Om once and Shanti 3 times. So taking a breath in together and a breath out. A breath in, ready to chant or lift. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Taking this time to acknowledge this practice that you have allowed yourself to be part of. The care and the attention that you've shown to yourself and to others. and allow this time over the next couple of weeks to be what you need it to be. Om Shanti. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Really welcome. As always, we can't control what happens, can we? Someone knocking on the door. Yeah, so did I. Yeah, that's why I was like, no, you need to stop. Yeah. But yeah, just shows you, doesn't it? You know, we have no control over what's going on. The meters have to be read, yes. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, Mum and Dad.
Thanks.